Welcome to OneHash. In this video, we will see how we can set up multi-company in OneHash. So the first step for setting up a multi-company in OneHash is to go to the company list, or we can use this awesome bar and search for a company list. Here we see all the companies which are already created in the system. We can click on Add to create a new company. Give a name to this company, Gst Limited, for example. We can set the abbreviation according to our requirements. In case it is a parent of our existing company, or it is a child of an existing company, we can select that option, else we can ignore it. If the company that we are adding is a group company, then we can make it as a group. In that case, we will be able to add the child companies inside this group company record. We can select the default country currency. Based on the country that we have selected, we can use the chart of account template. We can either use the standard template, or we can use the chart of account from the company that is being created. I have selected a standard template for India. In the case of other regions or other countries, it will give us options. Let's say, for example, we select for the US. Then if we select the standard option, we further get these two options, or we select some other company. Based on the country that we have selected, we get different options, and we can select any one of them. I'm changing it back to India. We can select the default holiday list right now, but all these things can be set at a later stage as well after we save the company. Once we save this company, it will automatically create a chart and all the required account heads. Once we set everything, the dashboards will be available. We can set the remaining things like if there is any finance book applicable, we can select it. Or if there are some default selling terms, so we can have the selling terms same across all the companies. We can select the buying terms and default warehouse for sales returns, etc. One thing that we need to ensure is that when we are not creating any child parent company, in that case, we select these based on the abbreviation that we have selected. So like all warehouses represent the warehouse of Gst Limited. Hence we can select them. These are not the compulsory fields, but if you set them by default, then they will be visible and their change will affect the transactions. By default, all the required accounts heads are automatically set, but you can change them according to your need. You can set all these details according to your requirement. Once we have created these settings, we then see that we have a chart of accounts, and we can change the company here. In case you don't see the company name, you can refresh with Ctrl-Shift-R, Command-Shift-R, and the company will be visible. If you see, all the basic account heads have been created according to the chart of accounts that we have configured at the time of creating a new company. In case you want to add some other heads, we can do that. Now the next part is how to create customers for two different companies. OneHash shares a list of customers across the companies. In case you want to segregate it, that is also possible. Let's say we are getting an inquiry for a particular company. We would be getting all this inquiry data under the lead. Here we have options to select, under which company we are creating this lead. I'm selecting the company as Gst Textile Corporation instead of Gst Limited. So how can I change the default settings? This thing gets changed with the help of session defaults. If I change this from Gst Textile to Gst Limited, then every place where I will open a form, the default value will be Gst Limited. For the users that are having access to a single company, or want to do transactions for a particular company, what they can do is, they can come to this icon. From session default, they can change the default company they are working on. I hope this is clear your doubt. This is our company in which we're creating leads. Now we can enter the details. Now we can see these details are entered. I can filter out all the leads wherever I want to, by applying the filter for the company. Please note that I can see all these leads, because I have been given access to all the companies. Now as the transaction flows, so we can create new opportunities related to that company itself, we see this opportunity. All these transactions are also of the company, hence we can do the filtering based on this. So this way we'll be able to segregate the pipeline for a separate company. Whenever we're sending the quotation, proposal, or client proposal, it will be based on this company. They can select the address or other shipping details. All details can be selected based on the default currency of the items available. Master data remains the same across the companies. We are not required to add or duplicate the master data. We can segregate items based on the group. We can segregate items based on any other categorization that we wanted to add. Based on the company that we have, the system automatically sets the default regional taxes for the country that we have selected wherever it is applicable. Since we have set it for India, it will set the GST rules. As per the tax template, we can see the tax calculation is also happening. Based on the terms and conditions, complete payments will be generated. Since we have already configured terms and conditions for selling before quotation terms, that is why it is getting pre-selected. We do not need to select it again and again. If we set something default in the company, then it gets published widely for all the transactions across the print format. Now if you see the print formats, you can see all the details related to that particular thing. We can have different templates for the letterheads, and according to the company, the default letterhead will be selected. According to the template that we are selecting, the details will be visible. In case you don't want any letterhead, we can select that. Once we have reviewed it, and we are sure that all the details are perfectly fine, we can submit this quotation, and we can move to the order. We can print it, or we can email it, whatever is required. We can do that. From the quotation, we can now register the sales order. Whenever our customers agree with the final pricing that we are offering, and they are placing an order with us, by sending us a PO, we can record that sales transaction. You can select the delivery date by when we need to deliver it. If we have received the PO details, we can specify the PO number supplied by the customer, and we can specify the PO date that when this PO was generated in the customer system. We can add the customer address details. We can select the address type, and the address title gets automatically generated based on the transaction that we are doing. According to the GST state, all details can be added. All these party GSTIN can be captured. We can see the address gets auto-selected in case the GST number is present. Based on the shipping address that we're selecting, customer GSTIN will be automatically picked up. The place of supply gets automatically updated, based on the date that we have selected. In case we want to select a different address for the company, we can select it as well from the company address. All the details that we have prefilled are coming further into the transaction. All that applicable tax can be selected based on which the tax breakup is being generated. We can specify the assessment code into the item, in case we have not defined it into the item master. We can update it from the transaction as well. Once it is being saved, we can see the print format. Similarly, we get all the details that are required. Now if you want to see the sales report company-wise, what we can do is, we can come to the reports view, and we can do the filtering for that particular company. By default, since our session default is already set to this company, the filter gets applied for that. All the sales analytics can be seen for that particular company also. We can apply the filter for the company, and we can do the required analysis. If you want to do the sales analysis based on the order, we can do that as well. Since this date change is coming for the previous fiscal year, I'll change it to the current fiscal year, We can see the complete trend and the complete details. We can see the complete analysis of this based on the company also. Now as the transaction progresses, we can create further transactions with the sales order. We can generate the invoice based on the details that are required. The complete details come auto-generated. Since we have created this new company, we need to configure the Gst accounts as well. That part can be done with the help of Gst Settings. Go to the Gst Settings. In Gst Settings, if you see for Guardia Textile Corporation, all the Gst account heads are being selected. So for ABC Limited, also account heads will be applicable, so I can select that. All these details are available. Now if we come back, we can see our transactions and save them. Once we have saved them, we can see the ledger and submit it. Sometimes you might get this error from the course center. If the wrong one gets selected, you need to change it to the correct one. We can change this Gst template, and we can select the correct one from the cost center to avoid this error. This error is coming since we have selected the wrong cost center into the template. Once we submit it, we can see the ledger for this particular invoice. Here we can change the company to see the ledger of that particular company. You can remove this voucher number in case you don't want to see the ledger based on the voucher number. By changing the company, I can see the complete ledger for that particular company. We can apply the filter for that particular party type and see the ledger for that particular customer. If we want to see the complete ledger for this customer across the companies, we can do that. For other companies, we can filter it out. There is no transaction for this particular customer in that company. Now if we want to see the payment entry for that particular invoice, we have to come back. We can create the payment entry for the amount that we have received. For this customer, which company account we have received it in, so we can see the filter is being applied for this particular company. Only the bank accounts that are being added for this company will be visible. Here we can add the bank accounts for this company. If it is a default company, we can select it, and if it is a company account, we can select it too. It will ask us to set an account head for that particular bank account. You can select it. This is setting up the account head for this company. Once we have set it, we can select in which account the amount will be paid. Accordingly, the details will be fetched and the account balance will be fetched. Sometimes we observe that the customer has deducted some TDS while paying or some other kind of deduction. So how will we know the amount we have received? Let's say, for example, we have received $1,200 instead of $1,298. Now we want to set that as a deduction. What we can do is, we can come here and select that deduction account. What is the amount that I can specify? The difference is 98. I'll allocate this 1,298 so that the invoice gets completely paid and the deduction is being booked under TDS. We can specify a reference number and the reference rate when we have received that payment. Once we submit, we can see the ledger. Again, we have seen the ledger for that particular account. We can see the ledger for this as well. If you want to see the ledger for any particular account head, we can click on that account head and we can see the ledger of that. We can see one reference voucher is this, and for TDS we have seen this. For all the details where we require some accounting statements, we go to the invoice that has all the required reports. We can change it to the report view, and we can access all these reports. If you want the GST sales register to be seen, or the itemized sales register to be seen, or we can see the sales payment summary and the sales register as well. All the details are visible according to our requirements. If you want to see the customer ledger summary, that is also possible. All these details are directly accessible. We have covered the required details like how we can configure a company. To repeat the process of how we can set up a multi-company into OneHash, just go to the company list and create a new company and select the chart of account. We specify all the required account heads to set the default one. Once we set it, we can come directly to the transactions. In the case of the leads or the prospects or the inquiry, we have the option to select the company in every sales transaction or a purchase transaction, based on which further transactions will be carried out. To see the reports, we can apply filters based on the company. Next, how can I restrict any of the users having access to only a particular company? For that, we can use the user permissions. On user permissions, let's say for user, we add the restrictions for the company ABC Limited. If we set this as default, we will see only this. If ABC Limited is a parent company and we want to see all the child access, then we will keep this unchecked. In case I want a user to strictly access ABC Limited, then I can click on this box, and the user will only have access to ABC Limited. You can read more about user permissions in the user permissions document. Now if I come and see for my user on any of the records like the lead list where we had the company selected, we can see this restricted icon. I can see only the transactions which belong to this company, and I cannot see the other records. Now let's say sometimes you want to restrict the customers based on the company. We want to segregate the customers also based on the company. We can simply come to the customer, and we can customize it. As we had a field of a company in the rest of the documents, we can add a field in customers also with the name of the company. Let's see under more information, we want to add the company field after this market segment. Click on Edit and then Insert below. Add the company and change the field to the link type. In the options, I selected a company. You can read more about setting link fields in a customized form video. Now if we come to the customer list for any of the reports where we will set the company as ABC Limited, we will see those records. Currently we can see a huge list of customers because we have not enabled strict permissions. How do strict permissions work? We have to go to the system settings and apply strict permission. This means if we apply strict permissions and user permission is defined for a doc type for a user, then all the documents where values of the link are blank will not be shown to the user. If we come to the customer list, we can see only one. This way we can set restrictions on customers as well, and we can segregate those based on the required company. Similar things can be done on items, in case we require products to be segregated for the companies that we are having. We hope with the help of this, we were able to cover the major parts of how we can create another company, how we can record the transactions for that particular company, how we can see the financial statements of those companies, or a customer who is doing transactions with us in multiple companies. Thank you.